Now you have a really interesting role. You basically are in charge of generating innovation through internal startups within Cisco, and you're applying all of these ideas that we're talking about today to that. So could you just tell us a little bit about what is that model and how does it work?
Sure, Don. In the late 90s, I started the enterprise voice business for Cisco. Think of it as voice over IP, or better known as voice over IP. And that was done like an internal startup. And about 6 years later, John came to me and asked me to go do 20 more internal startups that could become $20 billion businesses for Cisco. And he said, I want you to take 2 people to start this. And that was an interesting challenge because I had a group of about 1,500 engineers at the time, and I was running a $700 million business. So that in itself was a test because I really had to take a lot of risk stepping back in order to go do this. And I immediately realized that we had to become students of the innovation game, because to do innovation and take something from an idea to $1 billion business is never easy. In fact, how many people in this room has taken anything from an idea to $1 billion business? Can I see a few people in the room? It is very, very hard. And I was asked to go do 20. So I realized 2 things. I don't have the answers. And secondly, I'm going to need a whole lot of help. And so as part of the study, the in-depth study we then did, we came to recognize 3 key things that if we can harness and make a part of what we were creating, which was an internal venture framework, we think we could do great things. First of all, we had to facilitate mass collaboration. A lot of that came out of your book as well, although it was happening sort of in the same time frame, Don. Secondly, we had to find a way to capture the wisdom of a much bigger crowd than the few people in my group at the time. And thirdly, we had to create an environment where risk and failure was okay, but it was coupled with accountability. And so we created this internal venture framework where we have multiple processes. First, how we find billion-dollar business ideas, how we then filter those ideas down. We then start some of those as small incubating startups. Then we take them to market, and after a couple of years, they either graduate, meaning they're well on their way to $1 billion business, or we repurpose the people and the technology. And in the find and filter stages, we use a tremendous amount of capturing the wisdom of the crowd's ideas and then facilitating mass collaboration. One of probably the best things we've done was taking wiki technology similar to Wikipedia, and we've opened it up in an idea wiki format we call iZone that is available to all Cisco employees around the world. And we've had thousands of employees contribute. And there were some rules and a framework. You had to bring an idea that could become a $1 billion business. But there was no prize. And this is an interesting factoid I'd like to add here. If you have a passionate group of people that believe, in our case, it was the company's vision for moving into 20 new market adjacencies, you don't always have to pay them to do that. They often want to feel part of something bigger than themselves. And I think that is true for education and healthcare and many of the issues that was described earlier. But we have had thousands of submissions as part of our iZone. In fact, we now have in iZone $800 billion business ideas captured over the last 2 years that came from employees. Now, they're not all great ideas, and in fact, some of them are really bad ideas. But you need both good and bad ideas to find the really good ones.
Now, for the great ideas, do you get some kind of credit? Are you profiled? Do you enhance your reputation, your prestige?
Yeah, absolutely. Once an idea actually gets funding, we recognize the people that contributed. And once it becomes a $1 billion business, there is also great public recognition for those contributors. Beyond that, Don, we've also launched an external contest called XPRIZE that effectively invited any entrepreneur and innovators to participate. And in 3 months during the contest, we captured an additional 1,200 billion-dollar business ideas, of which one, the prize was $250,000. We recently announced our entry into this whole, the transformation of how energy is managed in the smart grid world with the solution that was proposed by the winning team. But as part of that contest, we We had 2,500 entrepreneurs participate from 120 countries, and they generated 1,200 ideas in a matter of 3 months. We did not advertise the contest. It was pure word of mouth. But it was amazing to see the ideas that came out of that.
Key obstacles, difficulties.
Well, in a big company, the issue is often, unlike an external startup, how do you break through the internal resistance barriers? How do you get the rest of the organization to support you? So further down in the process, as we would filter these ideas, I would, for instance, take our ideas and give them every 3 months. I give 3 ideas that's very well developed at that point to a group of Cisco executives that come to San Jose for executive training. And they get to put their general manager hat on, and for 6 weeks, with facilitation from top faculty from around the world, take those ideas and develop them further. And there's 2 teams per idea, so there's quite a bit of competition. Of course, these leaders all, also are there to progress their careers. And after 6 weeks, they come give a readout to a group of Cisco executives then about why Cisco should be in these businesses. And it continues to amaze me, whether you look at iZone or this internal leadership process, how when you get people from all around the world with different backgrounds and cultures and perspectives to come together, and then how many new ideas would come from that. But the biggest advantage is not then getting the perspectives of these executives, but what we often find is that they become so passionate about the idea that they've worked on that they would haunt me wanting to know, have you funded this idea yet? And if you do, can I please be a part of it? So by the time I actually fund a new business, I have broad permission across the company to do that, and I have a passionate group of leaders that is standing ready to help me make that a real business.
Oh, okay. So this is not just about coming up with a big idea. It's about executing change and changing the relationship of forces so that things actually happen.
Absolutely, because you often have to change the company's business model, or you have to stretch that, if you will. You have to change process to go into this new adjacency. So I can never do this with my small team by ourselves. We need the rest of the organization to move with us. And that's often also the issue we have, as you said, in many industries today, whether you think of healthcare or education. How do you break the mold to get to a new model? And the only way is if you can get people excited, motivated, and passionate about what you're trying to do and let them come up with the idea and then go make it happen.